Hi everyone, and welcome to another edition of Code Remix Weekly. I'm your host, Tim Twig. Sam is here this week. We had lunch this past Monday, but he's in Europe traveling around, so he's not going to jump on the call for now. But we have a very good friend of mine waiting in the backstage, so I'll bring her on just after I take you through what do you think that have been new in the past week here at OpenRewrite and Moderne. So as always, I do that through a number of tabs. And first off, I want to tell you that we did a new release, as we do every 2 weeks. You will get all the latest features and things that we develop. And from here, we're going to very quickly run through some of the things that I wanted to highlight. But we closed a total of 144 issues this release cycle. So there is a lot more than I will bore you with on this particular call. So if you want to get the full details, of course, always go to the rewrite recipe bomb. I will highlight the link in the chat here right now, where you can see all the aligned versions. So we always recommend that you use specifically the rewrite recipe bomb to get all the aligned versions, such that you don't get any mismatches, where you may be missing a method which was only added in a different version, or you're using a different plugin version than you should be using for the recipes. This ensures that it all works well together, and we'll do an next release in 2 weeks. But a couple of things are new in this particular release, and one of them is that we added a new module for the rewrite and reactive streams. So as part of an upgrade to the Spring Boot 3.1, you should also upgrade your reactor projects. And those, of course, need some recipes because they have some breaking changes to adopt in the 3.5 version that you get with that newer release. And a new colleague of ours, Laurens van Westerlaken, has worked hard on developing the first set of recipes to get you on this latest version. And of course, we've made a bit of room for other specifications beyond Reactor. So if you use any of the reactive streams tech, and you want to maybe do some RF Java recipe development, then we have a new home for that in the rewrite reactive streams. Next up, we also, of course, hook this into the rewrite Spring recipes, such that if you upgrade there now, then this has become part of it. And just today, we added a few more steps there as well. So you'll, in the next release, notice that we're also going to update your Apache HTTP client version 4 to 5. And we're also going to run the Spring Doc migration recipes that we had, such that there's even more recipes for you to automatically migrate to newer versions. And in total, I think we're running 2,300 recipes when you upgrade Spring Boot applications. So know that there is a lot of work done for you behind the scenes there. So there's also some new improvements to rewrite testing frameworks, where we have a lot of recipes added by Marvin for folks adopting AssertJ. So there's some ways that you can do assertions, and there's better ways you can do those same assertions. And we've codified those and removed a number of old recipes that we had to really make it very easy to extend and add new patterns that you might want to have better assertions for. So get the latest version of rewrite testing frameworks to adopt those new patterns, even if you already migrated to AssertJ. Now, beyond that, we have some fixes here for rewrite Kubernetes, which unfortunately had some false positives in the past. So it would alert you about any YAML file which might be missing configuration, but we've made that specific to anything related to Kubernetes resources. So you can now use a newer version of rewrite Kubernetes, and it will find for you exactly the resources that you might be missing, and it will also helpfully call them out in a way that calls to action. So before, we just would print a squiggly line for you, and now we're actually telling you exactly what you're missing in live test code in this particular example, and maybe some CPU limits in this other one. And then from there, gives you that call to action to actually add those in for you. So have a look at those if you're using the deployment platform. And then from there, know that these recipes are much improved in the latest version. We also added some new versions of the Maven and Gradle plugins, and these are now a lot more performant when you're running against a very large repository. In the past, there was a lot of time spent on getting maybe contributor information and some other class path specifics, which we've now reworked to work better. And we've already heard from some folks that have adopted and tried out these versions to be a lot quicker. Specifically for the Maven plugin, we've also removed the option to create a cyclone deac SBOM, because there's now a recipe that does that both with Maven and Gradle plugins, as we discussed last week. So if you were using that, know that there is now the replacement in the recipe there. So that's a couple of things I wanted to highlight from our release. And then next up, we also have some friends of ours working at Amazon who have their own rewrite recipes that they've developed. And you can find those at this particular link, which I'll share in the chat again. But they go over for folks that might want to migrate to the newer version of the AWS SDK for Java. And then they've written recipes, and we've been helping them out for the past couple of months, writing these recipes, refining them, such that you can now upgrade to the newer version of that SDK using the automations that you know through using OpenRewrite already. We've also hooked this into the Moderne platform, so anyone using that can also similarly run these migration recipes at a large scale across their organization. So that should be very helpful for folks that are looking to adopt the next version of their SDK before phasing out of the 3.1 there. It is still in preview, but we've already noticed that these work quite well. So yeah, be sure to check that out. Then another thing that's new is that I got accepted to DevOps Belgium. So if you're looking to see me for a hands-on on transforming code with OpenRewrite and Refasting, together with a friend of mine, the Custom Driver, then be sure to get your tickets in for DevOps. I know it's a very popular event, but I should be there either Monday through Thursday. And then closer to home and closer in date is that I'm doing a meetup of the Open Value Düsseldorf offices next Thursday. If you want to get a quick run through of various ways to do custom recipe development, then that meetup would be the place to go if you're in the neighborhood there. So have a look at that as well. And then Mike will be doing a webinar together with Gitbook next month. So I'll share a link to that as well in the note that we put out for this particular session. So there's a good couple of ways to learn more about OpenRewrite and how we write our docs, just coming up at an event near you or online. So that's pretty much each for the things I wanted to quickly take you through this week. And with that, I'm going to introduce a good friend of mine. Yeah, I can already see you smiling backstage, so I'm gonna bring her on.
Hi, Tim.
Hi. So for folks that don't know, maybe introduce yourself a little bit, if you wish.
Yeah, so I'm Marit van Dijk, and I'm a developer advocate at JetBrains. And as Tim mentioned, we're good friends. We've been traveling to the same conferences for the past 2 years, talking about, in my case, IntelliJ IDEA-related things, keeping dependencies up to date using IntelliJ IDEA and other tools like OpenRewrite, which was always a good opener for Tim's talk on OpenRewrite. So.
Yeah, we've quite often had like back-to-back sessions or cross-promotion in the talks that we give.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think, like we've known each other for I think 3 years now.
Yes.
We first met when I did my first ever talk at JFall.
Yes.
And you live tweeted your findings about my presentation. And for I think the first half year, I didn't know what you looked like. I just knew your Twitter handle and the Powerpuff Girl that you have on there. But
yes, I look very much like my profile picture.
Oh.
So I'm hoping that I'm changing my profile picture to an actual picture of me on all of the other socials. But at this point, I'm afraid to change it on Twitter because people know me as the stupid Powerpuff Girl. So
just get a button that shows the Powerpuff Girl or something.
Yeah, but then if I change my profile picture on Twitter, then and I start tweeting with a different profile picture, people won't know it's me. So I guess I will keep that profile picture there until, it dies, I guess.
I think the thing to do is to slowly fade in and fade out. So like every month, turn up the gradient for 1%, and then
If I had any Photoshop skills, I might try that, but I don't. I'm a back-end developer. I cannot design my way out of a paper bag, so I don't think that's going to happen.
Try to look more like a Powerpuff Girl, and then things will work.
Maybe.
Maybe. Okay. So yeah, thanks for coming on. So the reason we brought you in is it's nice to talk to friends here, but of course we're also very interested to hear on what you did at JetBrains and what your colleagues have done to help integrate OpenRewrite into the IntelliJ IDE.
Exactly. So I did very little. All of my colleagues built all of these amazing features, and my job is to try them out and be like, oh my God, that's amazing. I got to go tell everyone. And that's my job. So that's why I'm here today. So as you might know, so I maybe we can share my screen and then I can show people what it looks like.
So
here we go. So I'm using the Spring Pet Clinic just to have a demo project. Thank you, Spring team. It's not really relevant what project it is, but we're just going to look at how to run an OpenRewrite recipe inside IntelliJ IDEA. So as you might know, we have lots and lots of refactorings, and we also have a way to migrate packages and classes. We have our own refactoring, for example, if you're going from JUnit 4 to 5, which actually, let me show you. All that does is change the old package name for the new package name. You still have to do a bunch of stuff like changing the dependencies in the POM XML. So I know that there's a better recipe from OpenRewrite to do that. But in that same menu, we can also create a new OpenRewrite recipe, which we can give a name. I'll just call it demo. And that works basically like a live template that you can use in IntelliJ as well. So it will have placeholders for the things that we need to fill out. No, I do not want to remove a module. I want to change the name of the recipe that we're running, for example, for demo. And then here we can select existing recipes. For example, order imports is an existing recipe. We can use camel casing to search for them, as we can do in lots of places inside IntelliJ IDEA. So, for example, if we wanted to order the imports for our project, we could run this recipe. And we can run it right here from this recipe using the green button or whatever the relevant shortcut is. But we can also use other recipes. For example, this is a Spring Boot project. So what if we wanted to update Spring Boot to 3? We can again search for it. So we could upgrade, for example, to the latest Spring Boot version. And in this case, that's a recipe that consists of multiple recipes, as you well know.
Some 300 in there. Yeah.
Okay, so if we want to see what all is included in this recipe, I use Alt-Enter, our trusty shortcut for any kind of fixes and suggestions from IntelliJ IDEA. And we see that we have the option to inline this recipe. So now we can see what this recipe would do if we run it on our application. So what dependencies are included. We also have code completion inside this file. And for example, I don't know if this would be a good one to run. So maybe go back to the other one and let's order imports and run that recipe. That's going to take a while because I don't actually know what's going on here, Tim. Can you explain it to me? Because It looks like it's downloading half the internet. It reminds me of NPM, to be honest.
We're a little quicker than that. What we're doing here is we're having to build up a detailed model of your code. You say 17 seconds. I think that's decent because it would have been 17 seconds to do a Spring Boot upgrade just to say. But we're having to build up a very detailed model of your code and then manipulate that model and write the changes back out again. That will depend on the size of your project. Yeah.
And the recipe or set of recipes that you're running, I guess, as well. So now that it's done, we can look at the changes that were made to our project. So we can open the changes like this and then look at the diffs and go over the diffs and see if that's what we want. Or I'm very much a who moved my cheese kind of person, so I like to look at the changes here, so we can see what changes were made. And if we select them, we can also ask AI assistant, that's JetBrains AI assistant, hi, to generate a commit message to see what happened there. In this case, we reordered the imports, so hopefully that should be what it tells me it did. If we want more, okay. That looks okay, right? So, I mean, order imports hopefully shouldn't do anything other than order imports. If we want to, we can go over all the files and check that that's actually what happened. We can also ask AI assistant for, I created a custom prompt just so that I have less typing. So I can ask it to review my local changes and it will tell me what happened. I did this earlier today for the Spring Boot upgrade, and it would tell me what happened in the different files and what was changed. Obviously, it's slow because I tempted the demo gods, but hopefully it will tell me what local changes were made. In this case, not very interesting, but if you're running other recipes and you want to know what happened, that could be useful as well. So yeah, that's...
I think a good use case as well to help support the work that you're doing, because nothing's going to burn down if your commit message is slightly off, or if the summary of your changes doesn't exactly match. Whereas with code changes, we want to be very exact in what we do. So,
So we can have a look at all of the changes that were made, obviously, and make sure that that's what we want. I see lots of questions in your Slack sometimes about, hey, so it did all of this, but it missed this tiny thing, and then you upgrade the recipe. Like you mentioned also in the release notes of false positives and improving the recipes. So
that feedback is invaluable.
Yeah, I like to be clear in my commit message, not just of what happened, but also why. If you don't like the commit message the way that it's generated, you can actually change the prompt to do something else. So for example, in my previous job, we would always include the issue number for whatever issue tracker you're using. So you can, for example, say start with ABC something or other, if that's the name of your project or the abbreviation of your project, and provide a brief and concise, I can't type, summary of the changes. And then we can rerun it again, and it should hopefully do that. And then you can put whatever the issued number was in there and commit your changes in the format that you want your commit message to be. So I think it's a good combination of both our tools.
Yeah, it's very neat to see the changes run through the IntelliJ integration. And then, of course, you can just as easily include custom recipes here as well. So if there's a recipe that maybe takes in a couple of options, you want to upgrade your own dependency, or you want to change a particular type, then you can run those all the same.
We can add additional recipes if you want to run a set of recipes, and it will have the placeholders for the fields that it needs. As you can see here, if you want to change a dependency from an old to a new group idea, for example, you can do so, and you get all of the support that you would normally get in IntelliJ IDEA when you're editing code or files.
Yeah.
Super useful.
So one thing I did notice, but I still have to create a utrack issue, is that not all the recipes are available. So there's a set that I know is available, like the Spring ones and everything downstream from that. There's also a smaller set which I have yet to find support for.
So I was actually wondering, and I don't know because I didn't build the feature, I just get to tell you about it. I was wondering where we get this list of features, because also you just mentioned, hey, we just did a new release, and now I'm curious whether we would have all of the latest recipes. So I'm definitely going to go check that with my colleague. I already wrote it down.
Because there's new recipe modules and new recipes coming out, and there might be a different cadence in which they're picked up. But of course, it would be nice to have all of them available.
Yeah, and I'm not sure how that works actually under the hood, unfortunately. So I have questions now too. Yay. Another thing that we looked at is that if we go to our POM XML, we can see what dependencies we have, obviously. Here, let me close the other windows. Now, this is the Spring Pet Clinic. I think it's on Spring Boot 3.2 off the top of my head, yes. So we could upgrade it to 3.3. But if we go to an older version, so let me look for one where they upgraded Spring. And if we go to an older version, so we check out this revision. Oh, wait. Roll back everything. And try again. Check out this revision. So if we go to an older revision, so this would be Spring Boot 2.7, it will index the project again. And now we see this, we saw the OpenRewrite
logo.
Yes, thank you. I can't finish today. I did just get back from holiday. I'm not fully here yet. And we could click that. Of course, I don't know where it went now. And we can click that. It disappeared on me. So I also have to go to our U-Track. And then it will give us a list of the recipes that we could run on this repository, including the relevant upgrades to Spring Boot, for example.
Yeah, that's helpful contact to have as you're exploring maybe an older project, and to know that those recipes are there. You don't have to memorize all of them, but get them suggested for you to run.
Yes, so this is what that would look like. So you would get the Spring Boot recipes and you could run them from here. Not a lot of people use this currently, as far as we can tell. We only get user data if you opt in, by the way. But if we do appreciate if you share your data so we can see how people are using our IDE, and we can use that to improve it, obviously anonymized, etc. So not a lot of people are using this feature, obviously also maybe because it's not clear what that does. So maybe we need to work on the discoverability of that. But yeah, different ways that we can run recipes from IntelliJ IDEA.
And of course, the hopeful thinking here is that everyone is already on a 3 dot something and not getting that prompt. But
obviously, hopefully, well, unfortunately, we know, so we run our developer ecosystem survey every year. And 2024 is currently open if anybody wants to go and fill that out. I posted the link somewhere in I don't know if you want to post that in the comments. So the 2024 ecosystem developer ecosystem survey is currently open. If you want to collaborate or contribute to that. But in the results for last year, for 2023, we see that 80% of the people who filled out this survey are still on Java 8, for example. So they also will not be on the latest Spring Boot, which requires Java 17. So they can definitely benefit from tools like OpenRewrite and IntelliJ IDEA to upgrade from Java 8 to newer Java versions. Obviously, I had a whole discussion actually about on Twitter. Someone reached out and said, yeah, but our application is currently working. Why would we upgrade?
It's like you can get
Fair.
double-digit performance improvements. You can be more expressive by the language features that you use. Introduce
You
like
get all
records.
the nice stuff, right? I mean, there are so many features since Java 8 that have been added to the language that are really, really awesome, that just make your life easier as a developer, but also the whole ecosystem just evolves. So, you can no longer use the latest Spring version if you're not on Java 17, which means you don't get all of the nice Spring goodness as well.
Or
And then
patches.
the whole thing with, any vulnerability or any dependency could have a known vulnerability at any time. So you might also run into the situation where you need to upgrade all of your dependencies urgently. And the further behind you are, the more that's going to hurt. So if you can sort of keep up with the ecosystem, I think in the long run, that will make your life easier.
Absolutely, and of course we, if you reach out to us, we have patterns to help you there. You don't have to do like a big leap to 3.3 and Java 21 and everything that comes with it. You can break it down to the smaller steps and run those incrementally, build up the confidence that you need. Maybe first go to JUnit 5 while still on 2. Something, then go to the latest 2. Something, go to the latest Spring Security. And all of those are individual recipes that you could run and bring to production and see work well. And then, from there, we will gladly help you adopt to those latest versions.
And even if you want to make small changes and use some new language feature, we have migration aids as well in IntelliJ IDEA. So we have inspections. Obviously, anybody who's using IntelliJ IDEA will know that if you're coding in IntelliJ IDEA will highlight things where we have suggestions of what you can change or what might be wrong with your code. And we have a lot of language level migration aids where you can do specific inspections on the code, and you can also run those on your code if you want to, for example, use one specific language feature and update that. If you don't want to do a big, bigger recipe, and then you can just do it in place of your code. And if you've done some manually and you kind of get the feel of how the new code features or language features work, then you might want to run a recipe. So, I think the tools can be complementary as well.
Yes, absolutely. And by all means, automate that stuff. Don't do it manually. Yes. Don't go Boy Scouting your way through over the next decade to upgrade to Java 17.
So I'm a little bit ambivalent about that, because if I just run all of the recipes to upgrade to the newest language features, then I don't actually get the practice of refactoring my code to the newest language features. And how would I then get the experience of doing it? But so I was talking to my colleague today. I might like to just do a few myself just to get a feel for it. And then I'm like, okay, now I'm comfortable. I understand what I'm doing. Now let's run this recipe. And then also I'll be able to evaluate the results of what those recipes did. And because how would I review the changes if I have no idea what's going on? So
there's different schools of thought.
I like to kind of fiddle with my code base, some small stuff. Also, because usually I think it's a good way to familiarize myself with the code, even if especially if it's like areas of the code that maybe you haven't seen in a while. You might notice some other stuff that you want to change. I'm forever the person on the team who finds all of the typos. Apparently, I'm the only one who notices them and is bothered by them, but I'll also be the one to fix them. So I kind of like doing small stuff around the code base, but once it gets repetitive, then definitely automate that, and then you'll be able to evaluate whether you get the result that you want.
So the thinking that we have at Moderne, of course, is that you wouldn't have to review all the changes that the recipes makes, because those are guaranteed to work. So we test those extensively. But also, I kind of know that you're going to get that exercise in doing those upgrades manually anyway, because any AI assistant I'm going to bet is in majority trained on older versions of Java.
Yes.
There's just not a very large collection of Java 21 applications ready to learn on. So anytime you get automated suggestions, they're going to use outdated patterns, and you can update those as you.
And then you can enter your way to the newer language features.
So you can get your exercise that one. And then, of course, anytime your colleagues copy-paste something, will already be using the newer pattern.
Yep. And I saw a tweet today, actually, that coding assistant suggestions for Kotlin are actually better than for older languages like Java, because the code will be more recent. So therefore, it will be trained on more recent code. Therefore, the suggestions will be more the way that we write code now. Which I thought was interesting.
No one has poisoned the well with 20-year-old applications on GitHub for Kotlin. So
let's not discuss poisoning of models, but because that's a whole other topic that I'm not well versed in. But yeah. So what else can I show you? I think we discussed also. So, how would I even know what to update or what recipes to look for? So you might want to find out whether your application has outdated dependencies. So I have a very, very outdated project that I can use for this demo. So as you can see, IntelliJ is telling me that this stuff is hopelessly outdated. So if I hover over it, it should tell me that it can be upgraded to version 4, obviously, because that's the old JUnit. It can even be upgraded to JUnit 5. Or if we use Alt-Enter, we get the suggestion to update it to the latest junit.org and not Jupyter for JUnit 5. This is a demo project. It's not running in production, don't worry. Another thing is that we see the squigglies here, and that's because IntelliJ is telling us that there are known vulnerabilities in this dependency, which will definitely mean that you want to update that dependency.
You're making Brian very sad at this moment with this application.
Yes. Well, Brian knows that this is we're talking about Brian Vermeer, who works at a security company. And also speaks at the same conferences we do, and also lives in the Netherlands like we do. So he knows it's a demo. He also has code that is bad that he can then go and fix. So he knows how this works. He's fine. So if we want to know more about these vulnerabilities, we can open the vulnerable dependencies tab in the problems tool window. I just used find action, which you can use to find any action in IntelliJ IDEA, which is one of my most used shortcuts if you don't want to remember what's where in what menu. So now we can see information about the vulnerabilities, and then we can use that to determine, basically to prioritize how much we want to upgrade these dependencies. And obviously we could update the version and then run our code, see if everything still works. Or if we find that there are breaking changes, we can go look for what we need to change, and maybe there's a recipe that can make those changes for us. So that's some other ways that we can look for what to update. Obviously, you can use commands on the command line for Maven and Gradle to ask for potential updates, but I kind of like the visual aspect, and if I'm looking at it, I can just see what's going on, and especially the fact that it's yelling at me if I have vulnerable dependencies. I find that very useful. And if you want to get an overview, there is a plugin that you can install, which I've already done, but I will show you. It's called Package Search. And that's a plugin that will show you all of your dependencies and whether you can upgrade them or change the version. So then we can go to the Package Search window. And here we can see, again, I said this is an outdated project. No production environments were hurt in the making of this demo. But here we see that we have several dependencies that we can update, and we can either update them individually or all at once. Or if we don't want to go to the very latest version, because then, of course, we run the risk of malicious code being in the latest version. So we might want to do -1, we can also select a specific version that we would want to upgrade to. So I tend to not install a lot of plugins myself, because I want to have a very clean IntelliJ IDEA that has just the bundled plugins and the out-of-the-box experience for when I'm doing demos. But I find this specific plugin very useful in dealing with upgrading projects and finding out what dependencies we should be upgrading. So that's what I wanted to show you as well.
Yes, and of course, if the volume becomes too much, then we have a recipe to upgrade any vulnerable dependencies for you. We will bump any patch versions that we find, and then suddenly you're done with at least that part of the vulnerable dependencies that you have. And then from there you can prioritize whatever's left. Maybe you'll have some minor versions or even major version upgrades to do. And of course, those recipes, they run all the same on one project as they do on 100 or 1,000. So that's really helpful to know that automation is there to help you. You don't have to open up 100 projects in IntelliJ to get all of them fixed.
Well, I tend to do these things if I'm working on the project anyway. So I've been at JetBrains for about 2 years now, or just over 2 years. And before that, I worked at an online retail platform in the Netherlands. So kind of like Amazon without being a cloud company. And we had a lot of microservices, and some we would work on a lot, some we would work on occasionally, but usually whenever I was working on one project, I would do whatever user story I was supposed to do, so add a feature or fix a bug, and then do a little bit of scouting and see, okay, are there any versions that could be bumped, or some small, fix the typos, that would be me doing that, or some small refactorings, and just leaving the campsite a little bit cleaner than we found it, or the code base in this case. And in that case, I'm doing it inside IntelliJ, but obviously we were also using other tools that would tell us if we had vulnerabilities, so that we know to open the repo, etc.
I've done that a lot in the past, but for me, the moment I figured out that you could automate those changes, I've just been doing them that way, and it's a lot of fun. But I know I don't have to tell you that. It's
nope.
We've known each other long enough. We're mutual fans of each other's technologies.
Yep. So
So then, as you said, you don't like to install a lot of plugins. What should folks use to get the IntelliJ plugin for OpenRewrite in their IDE?
So the plugin for OpenRewrite in IntelliJ IDEA is actually bundled with IntelliJ IDEA Ultimate. And I think that's as of 2024.1, which is the previous version. 2024.2 was just released last week. They should have it already under plugins installed. And as you can see here, it's bundled. So you don't need to do anything to get this functionality in IntelliJ IDEA Ultimate as it's bundled. That's the whole idea of, the I in IDE stands for integrated. IntelliJ IDEA comes with a support for all of the tools that we need as professional developers, from Maven and Gradle to Git integration, to database support, AI assistant, which is an additional product, but you don't need to go outside of your IDE to go talk to ChatGPT. You can do so from inside your IDE. And all these other tools. So basically making it so that you can stay inside the IDE, stay in the flow of coding, and you don't have to leave your IDE. Because I know from experience, if I leave my IDE and have to go look up something on the internet, I get distracted by Twitter or whatever, and then I flow. So we work very hard to integrate all of the tools that you need for your development workflow, so that you can have a good developer experience.
And to that end, if you'll allow me, I'll briefly take over, because we similarly also want you to stay in that flow and stay in your IDE when you develop. You can also do that if you want to develop maybe a custom recipe beyond what's possible with the declarative ones. So what you've seen here is I have my own sample application, and it has a recipe. And this one you can actually run directly from the IDE through the sidebar as well. So notice this is a Java-based recipe, and you can just run it from the IDE. And we also offer you the option to notice that the pop-up isn't showing you, but I can very quickly create a new recipe based on an element that I selected in my IDE. So I can right-click on this printf and generate a recipe that will find me any place that we are calling this printf. And then I'm able to search for this across all the repositories that I have checked out locally. So in this case, I'm looking across all the OpenRewrite repositories, and it will find any places where we are using this printf. And if I maybe want to change that into something else, I can use same structure, but give it a different one, and then let me copy paste and replace this with a format plus hi. And now anytime I do a printf, we'll get that hi appended to it, and we can run this recipe again and see all of that. So we very much agree with you that you should stay in your IDE whenever possible, and be able to explore the results of recipes from that interface that you have. And like I said, very quickly develop new recipes, and then maybe keep those internally or contribute back to the project from there. So yeah, but that's a small thing I wanted to show. But this, of course, is a different plugin. This is not the IntelliJ OpenRewrite plugin. This is the Moderne IntelliJ plugin. So that's available to anyone who wants to do open source development of recipes, or wants to develop their own recipes internally using the tooling that Moderne provides. So do reach out if you want to explore that tooling for yourself.
Yep.
So, yeah.
So and that's another thing we have. We try to keep all of the tools that developers need integrated into the IDE, but obviously for very specific tooling, people who work on those projects might have very specific needs and might develop their own plugins for IntelliJ IDEA as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's been really fun to see this come together and unknowingly in parallel work on plugins for OpenRewrite in IntelliJ, and then see you come out with the declarative recipes, and we in parallel have that for the imperative and replanter style recipes. So yeah,
cool.
So
hopefully that will make it easier for people to keep their dependencies up to date and migrate their code bases and get all of the nice stuff. Java 23 is coming out soon, so.
Yeah, that's in September, I think. September, October. Yeah, so should be good.
Yep.
So yeah, is there anything else you'd wanted to share? Because we have like a shared audience with interest in modernization, or no?
No, I think we're good. Thanks for having me.
Yes, thanks a lot for coming to the show. Let me very quickly share one more set of tabs. So if you want to learn more about Marit, then you can go to maritvandijk.com. It's it's very easy to find information there. And she'll be at JavaZone as well next month, I think, and at DevToNext. So if you're anywhere near any of those events, then do go check it out.
Yeah, and at DevOps Belgium, I'll see you there.
DevOps Belgium as well. So we'll have some more meals and fun while there. I can really recommend her presentations. There's a lot of funny memes, and it's just and very informative about how to use IntelliJ IDE. So,
thanks.
Thanks a lot for coming. And
thanks for having me.
See you soon.
Yep.
And thanks all. Hope to see you next week.
Bye.